Welcome to the Working Mama podcast, a show that provides real-world tips, tricks, and advice to all working mamas on how they can have a career, family, and hopefully one day break the glass ceiling. Well, hello there, Mama. Welcome back to the very first podcast of 2024. I can't believe it's 2024. You know what? I've just celebrated 4 years of doing this podcast, and I remember when I first started it, I just wanted to be able to help one other person, just pay it forward. I had a few ideas and oh my goodness, I think it's like 110 episodes later, here we are. It's definitely been a journey. It's been a ride. And if this is your first episode, welcome. If this is a regular listener, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. So 2024, how exciting. I have to say it's been a bit of probably a slower start for me for 2024. So did get away with the family down the beach, which was lovely. Also had a few day trips in and around Melbourne. I've then gone back to work and the corporate gig. It's going really well. But I've also, my eldest son is about to start school in 2 weeks. So, oh my goodness, if you've got a child starting school or if you've had one, geez, the feels and the emotions, not only, it's probably more from me than my son. He's so excited. He had his kinder graduation the other day and it was just the most beautiful thing, dressed up in a cap and a gown and the like. But even today I pick him up from the last time at childcare and I was getting a little bit emotional and I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this is the end of an era. And I've really been reflecting on what it's like. And I think I might do a whole other podcast episode around it. But it's been a journey. So as much as work and my corporate gig is starting to ramp up, I've also then still really been like, no, I've got my kid. And that's sort of probably where my head's at a little bit more. Also just going through a few things in my personal world. So it's just a lot going on. But I'm very excited to be back for 2024. I put the call out on social media the other week of actually getting ideas and inputs and what are your challenges at the moment to get ideas into content and what would you like to see or who would you even like to see on the podcast. I actually had someone suggest a minister, which would be amazing, but you never know what's possible. So yeah, that's where we're at. If you're listening to this and you've got an idea or you like a topic, Karina, I'd love to hear about this, or I'd love to hear someone speak about this. That's what I love doing is hearing the feedback and then finding someone or getting a recommendation from someone on how to do it. So look, this podcast is definitely more for probably professional women that working for the man, as they say. But also if you've got a small business, there's a lot that still really resonates you, but particularly women that have, got 1, 2, multiple kids, but certainly early on in that journey of being a working mum. But I know there's a lot of women that certainly, going into the school phase like I am, of actually then, right, how do I do this? Because the juggle, no matter if you've got a 6-week-old, a 6-year-old, a 16-month-old, the juggle is still there. And I think we all struggle with it. We all navigate it. And it's all a journey. And so that's where, as well, in the next couple of weeks, I'll be opening up the doors as well to the Working Mama Village. So definitely join the wait list and there'll be some specials just for that if you are on the wait list. So definitely keep an eye out for that. But that's where the Working Mama Village comes, and it's really focused around is helping normalize some of those challenges and also having those conversations, having those difficult conversations. Oh my goodness, how are we going to do this? I go in there all the time and ask questions and certainly share some of my experiences as well. But there's a whole lot of masterclasses but really what people join, as they always say, join for the content, but stay for the community. And I think that's what's really important. But as we know, I know in my own world that there's not everyone that has definitely the, maybe the professional career and things like that. So being able to normalize some of that is certainly really helpful. And that's where we, help you in the Working Mama Village. So definitely stay tuned for that. Now, getting into today's topic for the episode, what I want to actually chat with you about is about managing the mum mindset. And this is then in 2024, as I say, a lot of this topic particularly has been around for forever, our mindset. And certainly as well, the last couple of years I've really seen it is that mum mindset. And I've experienced this definitely personally in my own right of my mindset, what I feel like I should be doing because society and patriarchal systems versus what I want to be doing, and also what's best for my family. And so that's where, I just want to chat with you about it today is also about managing that mum mindset. And also what I want to go through, I've come up with a few ideas. I've seen this around on a few posts, so I thought I'd turn it into a podcast, is about what's in and what's out for 2024. And this is definitely very centered around mindsets as well. So we've all heard of the growth versus the fixed mindset, growth that you're always seeing opportunities and development, and you're also working on yourself. And then fixed is, right, that's the way it's going to be. I can't do anything about it. And certainly I'm sure we can all think of someone as soon as we say growth mindset. We can instantly think of someone. And we've also certainly come up around some people that have got a lot of fixed mindsets as well. And look, it's okay to probably have a bit of both, at different times. But also what I'd like to, speak with you about is about the notion and the concept of the mum mindset. And I'd say that, the mum mindset is really that feeling of we need to do it all. We're being, ingrained that we need to do it all. That we've also then got the mindset, we've got 1,000,001 things going through our brains when, we're at work. But like at the moment, I'm thinking of like school and what do I need to do? But even reflecting on the emotions and things like that. So I've got all these thoughts and things like that. We process something like 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. And I think also certainly as a mum, we could probably multiply that like 10 times over, because we're not just thinking about what we've got to do, personal life, it's family, and professional, but also what the kids, how they thinking, feeling, and husbands and every families and extended families and you name it. So the mum mindset's always in overdrive, and we're trying to plan and think about what all the different options whilst, going through the motions, but also really, sometimes taking on that element of, oh, look, I need to do this because this is what everyone around me is doing, or the systems and structures and things like that. So that's where I'd sort of say, if you get the chance, just sit down and reflect. What are those stories that you're telling yourself? Where are they coming from? And that's a lot where our mindset is, our mindset is the stories and the thoughts that we've had, or those experiences that are saying it. Someone has, maybe one time has said one thing to me, but that has definitely stayed. And I had a great aunt that was very inspirational for me. And she'd only say, I only saw her, particularly when I was younger, a few times, but she'd had a great career and was really, had a lot of impact and certainly was quite profound influence on me. And so she'd say one thing and I'd hold on to that dear and tight, but in a really positive way. But conversely as well, you might have someone that says something negative or even doesn't say anything at all. And that can also then impact you. So when you're going through some of these experiences, particularly, as I say, in the mum mindset, you can see me talking in inverted commas, but, we're needing to do it all. Why do we think that we need to do it all? Is it because people around us or what our mothers or our grandmothers were doing? I even had the experience the other day of my mum saying, I need to, still be able to have the family over and do it all and host it all because, if you lose it, if you don't do it, you lose it. And I'm like, well, I love my mum, but at the same time, I'm like, you don't need to do it all. It's okay to ask for help. And it's been interesting because I really reflected on it thinking, no, I don't want that. I don't want to have to be able to do it all. And my role model was my mum saying I need to do it all. So that's the stories that has been, been told to me. And I've then had to sort of rewire my thinking, particularly around being asked for help. A good friend of mine from Mother's Group, I remember the very first time I met her in the group circle at Mother's Group. She said, you ask for help, you open yourself, that door is open and people will offer help to you. But if you say no, that closes the door. So it's one of those things, like it's those things that can really sit with you and have a positive impact. But also, what are those stories? For our mindset that we are and we're feeling like we're busy and things like that, why? Why don't we then ask for help? Why are we, feeling like we need to do it all? Is it because we've read an article, we've seen someone on Instagram? Instagram is like literally like a microsecond of that person's life for that day or that week that you're seeing that photo. You don't know the behind the scenes. So don't compare yourself there. Think about what's best for you and your family. Even sit down, grab a cup of tea or a coffee and reflect. What's causing you the most amount of stress and anxiety as you look out to 2024? You're thinking, oh my goodness, how am I going to do this? Like, I've already had that thought. How am I going to manage school hours, 9 till 3:30 into the 9 till 5 workday? I still don't have the answer. Anyone got it? Let me know. But one way that I can control it, I know that I work 4 days a week in my corporate job. My husband and I have already sat down and had a chat. Right, okay, he's going to need to go into after school care this day, grandparents help, and then pick him up early on another day, or I'll finish work early on another day. So we're like, right, this we can manage. It's an element of control. So I'm like, no, why do I not like after school care? No, because of like maybe something my mum had said to me. And after school care, I've seen elements of childcare, how much good they've got out of it. It's changed a lot. So I'm like, right, I need to just change my mindset and just see how it goes. Look, happy to be proven wrong otherwise, but I need to do my job, and both my husband and I have got our careers, so the kids need to do it as well. And look, they've loved childcare for definitely my son for the last 4.5 years, almost 5, and we'll see how we go. But it's one of those things, I just have to rewire my mindset. Why have I got to to primary school and thinking that after school care might be not so good? I don't know. It's because of probably some of those systems and what I've read and things, but I just need to test it out to see if it works for our family. And I'm not saying, if you can make it work, amazing, but this is what I need to just do. So just as an example about what are the stories that are being told to me to go, oh, why am I being made to feel guilty? But side note, yes, 9 till 3:30 is not ideal for the typical 9 till 5 workday. So yeah, it's just one of those things, like reflect on what are you feeling most stressed about, or what's you thinking that's going to cause you the most grief and anxiety looking at for this year. But also on the flip side of that, what are you really looking forward to? And recognize that. But also, what are those things you're like, nah, I'm not doing that. No way. I'm going to outsource that, or I'm going to swap it. I'm going to stop doing it. It might be something like, right, I'm not going to do it all, and I'm going to get a cleaner if you can afford it and things like that. Highly recommend it. It might be one of those things that you're like, look, that mindset of having to worry about it, it goes. So again, it can come back to having a conversation with your husband or your partner or anyone else, even in your village, around the mental load. What does it look like? How can it help you define, your journey this year? And think about how you want to feel. Like, how do you want to feel at different points throughout the year, and how can you work towards it? And what does that look like for you to create that vision? And to, even from a mindset perspective, how do you want it to look like? If you can't name it and you don't have that, you're not going to then be able to work towards it as a goal. I've, for example, got a goal to do a half marathon this year. I've seen it from one of the former members of the Working Mama Village, Christy. Massive shout out to you. She's inspired me to get off my bum. I've been talking about this for ages. I'd love to do a half marathon. So this year is the year. I'm saying it. Fingers crossed I do it in October. But it's one of those things, I need to be able to go, right, I've got to prioritize my time. I've got to plan I've got to do my exercise, build up my runs, build up my core and things like that. But I've actually named it. I want to make it happen. It's things like that from a mum mindset perspective. What is a goal for you? You're like, right, I don't want to feel this way, but how do you want to feel? What's something that you could lose, stop doing, have a conversation with you around to do it. So have a break, have a cuppa, have a coffee in the morning, even on maybe your way to work or in a commute. Think about how you want to think and feel, and what are the steps that you need to put into place. Obviously, you could join the Working Mama Village, and we've got a whole lot of resources around there to support you, and definitely be your cheerleaders. But it's one of those things, like, what is it that you really want to feel? And shed, if you're like, oh my goodness, I'm made to feel guilty. Guilt is coming from, other stories that people are making you feel bad about, because, I've seen this and I should feel guilty and things like that. You know what? I feel a lot less guilty now that I know my values and I know my why about why I'm working. People make me want to feel guilty for working 4 days a week and still being career orientated. Yes, but I know that I come back to my why and I have a lot less guilt. So just think about that with your mum mindset, and that's where it's like, right, how can I manage this? You can be a mum and have a career, but I have to say, you don't have to do it all. And so don't, rewire some of those stories that they're coming from. Also reflect on where are those stories coming from. So now just moving on from that. So grab a pen, grab a paper, think about that exercise. I'd also like to go through a few things that I think that should be in for 2024. And then definitely there's some outs that should be kicked to the curb. The first one is for 2024 I'm going to go through the ins first. The first one is about prioritizing self. I have had so many conversations with some friends and just even colleagues about how much people are really saying we need to focus on our mental health, mental well-being, and also their just physical health and just prioritizing themselves, because we all get caught up so much in life with kids and everything else that happens. We've just got busy, particularly after coming out of COVID, but we need to prioritize ourselves because, mum's the heartbeat of the family. So definitely that's my in, prioritize ourselves, number one, and just making sure we fill our cups and have time for self-care. Number two, it's about flexible working and also flexibility. It's not just about working from home and working that, but it's also about flexibility. And sometimes it's about, having the opportunity and also the employer that is giving you the empowerment to do that. I know there's a whole lot of reports with media articles about, different companies going back to work and things like that. Do you know what? Be vocal about it and say, look, I need to do this and have that, you don't need to always be seen 24/7. People travel and the like. So, people work quite consistently and there's ways of collaboration, and certainly if you can still go in the office, and I'm all for hybrid working. But it's also about flexibility. Like, for example, as I said, I want to be able to pick up my son a bit earlier on a Friday. So what do? I might work a little bit later one night, or I might work and, do a little bit on my day off or something, just so I've got that flexibility. So I can choose when I want to work, and that's my decision. It's not going to be for everyone, but I know it's my decision because I'm like, right, I want to be able to sort of take it out from here, but I'll give credits in this spot. And also having organisations that show the flexibility, leaders leading by example with flexibility, leading loudly to, even go get their kids or something like that. And just on that as well, my other element for an in is about having male champions of change. I have to say, I've already seen all the things around International Women's Day and things, and I have to say, the cupcakes are going to come out and the like. But I'm a little bit exhausted as well from these days, and I've seen them, seen the increase in that. And I have to say, I love this year UN's theme around financial fitness for women. But we all know, you get 100 women in the room. We all know what we need to do to change. But also, we're not talking to 50% of the workforce. We're over 50% of the workforce sometimes. And that's the males. We need our male allies to come along. We need the men to go, oh yeah, I need to pick up the kids from childcare, and not just have that expectation is going to fall to the women. Again, back to that women's mindset. How can we change it? Get the men involved, not only just your partner, but also the men in the workplace. Something little as well that I've read about getting men to pick up the plates, for example, at the end of, say, a lunch meeting. So it doesn't just fall to the women that'll naturally just clean it all up. So again, having those male champions of change, getting them to call it out, just don't be get them to be stereotypes and things like that. And so that's where we really need, men to think about, well, how can they, help the women in their workplace, help the women at home, so we can actually have equality, because equality is, we need the men coming along for the journey. And just with that as well, another in for me is about sharing the load. I am so upset how much we are just expecting of women to do so much. Again, it comes back to that mum mindset. But a really big part of it as well is about having that conversation and forcing it upon ourselves to share the load. Yes, it is difficult and annoying sometimes when you say to your partner or your husband, oh, can you do this? And they then ask the 50,000 other questions to say, oh, how do I do this? What's that? And what's happening? And you're like, I could have done it myself. But yes, the first time doing something is always going to be the hardest. Each time it's going to get easier. And the more responsibility they have, the more understanding they have, it will get easier. So just think about our kids. They didn't walk and run straight away. It was a progressive thing. So, if it's that time and just going through a couple of times, you can be like, right, here you go. And have a conversation, recognize it, call it out, because you're going to be exhausted. How can we prevent that? You need to then share the load. If, ask them, can you leave earlier from work, or have flexibility and things like that. Don't just have that assumption that you need to carry it all. Definitely see what you can do to share the load, both domestically, child caring responsibilities and the like. Have that conversation. Just have it in the time that works for you. But definitely one of my biggest ins as well is about sharing the load. And just on that and building on that around sharing the load, it's also about my other end as well is about communicating, and don't be afraid to ask. I know in 2023, I was so many times, particularly in a professional setting, I'm like, oh, should I ask this? Should I not? The times that I asked, I was so thankful I did. I actually got what I generally asked for, because it was a good reason and I wasn't questioned. Sometimes I was ready for the rebuttal at the end. No, it was there. So I know as women, and I was even reflecting the other night, my husband's like, whoa, this and that. I was like, I wouldn't have called that out, but he did. So it's really interesting as well. Men will often call it out. They'll, lead louder and things. So that's where it is for mums, is about then communicating. Don't be afraid to ask. And just on that as well, believe in yourself. My word for 2023 is actually belief and believe, just to be able to back myself. So in with you as well. Just make sure you've got that belief, have the confidence, ask the question, because the more that you ask the question, the more confident you're going to be. You're going to exercise that muscle. So just communicate and definitely ask the question, and don't be afraid to do so. And my last one as well is around boundaries. Definitely my in for 2024 is about setting boundaries and trying to stick to those where possible. Yet sometimes they may blur, but then try and resort back to, no, this is say work and this is home, or, what it is. This is my exercise time, and being clear on that as well. So definitely being really clear on your boundaries. So defining what you want those boundaries to be. What do they look like? Communicate them out to people, and then go ahead and live them. So moving on from that, so conversely on the flip side, it's about out. What are my outs? What do I not want to see in 2024? Number one, the guilt. The guilt of being made to feel guilty for wanting to be a mum and also have a career. Love to see the end of that. Another one is about men not helping. So what my in was for 2024 is certainly my out of men not helping. I'm just over it. They need to share the load, and there's no excuse. Definitely as well out is cupcakes of recognition for International Women's Day, and just recognise people throughout the year and make the policies to support working mums instead. And also as an out, worrying about things that we can't control. There's elements that we just are completely out of our control. We can't do anything about it. Don't worry about it. We're too busy, we're too exhausted. Just focus on what you can control, and also what's best for you and your family. And then as well about the out of your whole identity being wrapped up as just a mum. Yes, motherhood is a very big part of who we are and our identity, but we're also a person before we became a mum. We had interests, we had things that we, filled our cups. So what is that? Getting back to who you are and what makes you happy as well. For me personally, it's about making sure I can go for a run and things like that. But my identity is not just about motherhood. And it's also about, some of that's that real self-discovery of who am I after kids as well. So definitely trying to remove some of those, patriarchal systems as well as an out for 2024, and really embracing, look, this is working parent life. This is working mum life. We need all the support we can get to make it happen. So they were a little bit of my, ins of, really prioritizing self and male champions of change, communicating the load, and sharing the load, and setting boundaries, and outs as being made to feel guilty, and those societal expectations sometimes, and demystifying and debunking those. Men not helping, cupcakes of recognition, worrying about things we can't control, and your, out as your identity as just being a mum. And I know I say that in what way, but you're so much, mum is a part of your identity, and and we all need to remember who we were beforehand as well. Even I remember a friend of mine actually saying about, you had a relationship with your husband before you had kids. So remember that, and don't let that go, because that needs work as well. So welcome back to the very first episode of 2024. I hope this has been good for you. I hope you've had just a few little things to help you reflect on how you want to think and feel, and the mindset that you want to take into this year. Definitely as a working mum, as things are about ramping up, and I know there's kids already going back to school in some states, and really wanting you to have a really growth-filled year, so you can really, live and live your best life. We only get one life, so let's live the best way possible. And I know, and I've seen this last year and personally, the more that we can work on our mindset to really think about how we're feeling, the stories that are influencing maybe some negative elements to it. Let's debunk some of those myths about what it's like to be a working mum, rewire our brain a little bit around that working mum mindset. So as always, I would be really, 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 really appreciative if you'd be able to leave ideally a 5-star rating or review about the podcast, and share this with any other friends or family that you think that would be interested. And as always, the Working Mama Village is going to open its doors in the next couple of weeks. So look forward to connecting with you throughout the year. If you've got any ideas for topics, that would be amazing. Always reach out, karina@workingmama.com.au, or follow us on the socials at Working Mama Community on Instagram, and we're also on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to connect with you on LinkedIn as well. Until next week, have a good one. Cheers. Bye.